Businesses have got to make the environment that they're bringing people into welcoming.
Yeah.
Got to make sure that they've got the right culture to bring people into the first place, because you can do a brilliant job at recruiting people.
Hi everybody, Gavin, Coyle, I'm the Gaffer, back again, and I have a fantastic guest, Maria Coulter, who has amazing background. She's a QS by trade, so in terms of the conversation we want to have today, no better placed in terms of talking about the race to the bottom on costs and where pricing is in today's industry in construction. We all know how toxic it is. We all know the challenges. We all know the devastation, and we all know the most recent cases, especially in the UK, that have highlighted how dangerous this whole commercial aspect of construction can be, and the aftermath of what's left behind that in terms of the industry getting a bad name or a bad reputation, and also what are we doing about it and how are we going to protect ourselves. So especially if you're in the small to medium enterprise construction owner space, Maria is particularly an expert in that, and that's one of the reasons why we wanted her on I'm the Gaffer. Maria Coulter, award-winning construction coach, podcaster, amongst other things. Welcome to I'm the Gaffer.
Thanks, it's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Tell me, what part of England or the UK are you currently residing?
So I am in Melton Mowbray in Leicestershire, land of the pork pies. But I'm originally from County Durham in the northeast of England.
Very good. And tell me, you've had a very, very interesting career. Where did it all start? What brought you into construction? Why construction, Maria?
Okay, so the reason why I got into construction was because I couldn't get an apprenticeship at a church organ factory.
Okay.
Random fact number one.
Random fact number one. Oh my God.
Okay, so when I was 16, my favorite subject was woodwork. So I was only one of two girls at the time in my GCSE course to do woodwork, and I loved it. And we went on a tour of a church organ factory. And random fact number two, I could actually play a church organ.
Wow.
And I just remember thinking, oh, wow, how amazing. I love woodwork. How amazing would it be if I could build church organs? Like I could put my skills to good use. And I wanted to be put forward to be an apprentice. And they wouldn't accept me because they didn't have any female welfare facilities.
Oh, come on. No way.
I mean, this was, the late 80s. So, it was a different world at that stage. But I was like, that just really ignited the rebel in me. And I was like, I'm not having this, jobs for the lads. I'm not having this. And so I got a college prospectus for the local college, and I literally saw the building studies, like BTEC and building studies, and I saw a picture of a roof truss, and that was literally, right, I'm going to do construction because there's not many women in there, and they're going to have to sort their welfare facilities out. Not that I still don't think they sorted the welfare facilities out, but that was how I got into construction, because I was feeling very rebellious.
Yeah.
And I was a practical person, so I wasn't really that academic, although I did go on to get a degree ultimately. But yeah, so I went to New College, Durham. I did a BTEC in building studies, and then I did some work experience when they were building the Nissan car factory in Sunderland.
Wow.
In the QS department, and I was like, oh, I'll be a quantity surveyor. And that's what I went on to do.
Fair play to you. And no construction in your network in terms of your family? Was anybody in construction? Were you the first one to sort of step out?
I'm from a family of coal miners.
Oh, wow.
I know that sounds a bit cliched coming from County Durham in the northeast, but my dad worked in the coal mine, my uncle did, and my grandparents.
It was just a done thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm from a coal mining village. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, work ethic, get up and go, get out and get up early in the morning, coming home late at night, all that stuff, that didn't faze you, obviously, the long hours.
The core values were definitely there, and my dad was so supportive. Like, he was all for it, took me to the college interview, backed me 100%. Like,
Love it.
yeah.
Brilliant. And so when you came out then, did you go straight into a tier one company, or how did you cut your teeth in terms of your career?
I went to uni, so I went to Nottingham Uni, and that's probably how I've ended up back in the East Midlands. I went to Nottingham Trent Uni. I did an HND in quantity surveying, and then the RICS decided that they were going to change their entry requirements, and I had to have a degree to become a quantity surveyor. So then I ended up having to go back to uni because I wanted to be a chartered surveyor. Um, and then I did that, got my degree, and then I ended up down in London, but that was entirely by accident as well. Um, I just automatically assumed that because I was from the Northeast and I was writing to head office in London, they would know that I didn't want to work in London because I was from the Northeast.
Yeah.
But then they started sending me information about coming down to London for job interviews, and I was like, oh, okay. And I ended up getting a job in London.
So who are you working for there?
I worked for Gardner and Theobald, so I was there for 5 years, and that's where I got chartered as well. So it was a completely different world, like going from where I was from down to there.
Yeah, no, 100%. But a really well established, well respected company.
Oh yeah, totally.
And some major projects, obviously. You would have got great experience on some massive projects.
Oh yeah, I mean, day one, it was like, I remember waiting in the reception and it was all very posh with like the big sort of Georgian rooms and chandeliers and grandfather clocks and stuff. And then I was told that I needed to get into a taxi and drive down to the city because there was a meeting on Merrill Lynch European headquarters that I was going to be working on. And I've got to tell you, I probably had the most major imposter syndrome that I've ever had in my life. I was like, what am I doing here?
Wow, thrown straight into it. Like, no, look, nothing like it. Like, in fairness, nothing like it. And like, at least rather, if you had to think about that meeting, you probably would have been more nervous about it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
When you were talking there earlier on, I was thinking of Williams, the Formula One uh, racing car team, and obviously the father brought in the daughter to help run the team. And I listened to her recently, and she was like, it was very fascinating, especially coming up to International Women's Day, which has just gone past, and obviously Women in Construction Day, which has just gone past. And it's something that resonated with me that she said in terms of, there's not many young girls getting into go-karts at like 8 years of age, 9 years of age, and 10 years of age. This is where the young boys were having the advantage.
Yeah.
The girls, with all due respect, as she was putting it in her own words, wanted to play with Barbie dolls and whatever else, and the boys were playing with go-karts. And there was this big sort of distance between that age group to when they were starting to get ready to go into Formula 3 and Formula 2 and Formula 1. And now all of a sudden they were completely, ready to take on that professional role. And it's something that really stuck with me in terms of construction, the attraction of trying to attract women into construction. When you look at that parallel, like it is a challenge.
It is.
Where do you see that at the moment, and what's your viewpoint on that?
I still think, I mean, there's a lot of headway that's been made over the years, but there's still a long way to go. And I do think that, a lot of the bigger organizations, the bigger sort of SMEs, they are sort of doing a lot, but we do need the smaller builders and the smaller companies to be looking at taking on apprentices and things like that and looking at more diversity. And I think we've got to remember that, predominantly our industry is made up of SMEs and micro businesses, and probably mostly micro businesses, like the real small ones. And they're the ones that do really need to think about the impact of diversity, like, getting different people into their organizations. But I think, first of all, one of the big barriers is, can I afford to take somebody on anyway? And I mean, I sit on some working groups for the Construction Leadership Council, so I do get to go along to meetings, and there's some great work that's being done around equality, diversity, and inclusion. But I do keep saying, you've got to break it down and make it easy and accessible for small businesses to actually like do stuff and become engaged and understand what the issues are, and want to be doing something about it and to be part of that solution to attract more people. Because they keep going on and on about the volumes of people that we need, but there are fundamental challenges that need to be resolved, and the support needs to be given to help businesses to do that.
Yeah, and I see, like, we've had some really, really good guests like yourself on the podcast here, and they're trying to get into the schools and they're trying to encourage and open people's minds up that like construction's like a city,
Yeah,
and it's just there's so much availability of potential for people in terms of careers that they don't see. Like, digital marketing, you wouldn't associate that with construction, but yet this digital marketing is now sort of a real key area. Social media management is a key area. It
yeah,
doesn't have to be somebody that's just hammering a nail or getting up on a scaffold or a ladder. It's so much more than that. And I think, you know, I think there is some people, there's some really good organizations doing some really positive things with the schools and stuff like that. But it's the long game, isn't it? It's not something that's going to happen overnight, and it's a collective effort of collaboration that's needed for the industry to the brand of construction needs to come together in
yeah.
regards to that.
And also, businesses have got to make the environment that they're bringing people into welcoming.
Yeah.
Got to make sure that they've got the right culture to bring people in into the first place, because you can do a brilliant job at recruiting people, but you've got to be able to keep them as well.
You're not going back to the toilets now, are you?
Well, I did get locked in one once, but I think that was my fault, not anybody else's. Or at least I hope so.
As long as they weren't tied together with all the other toilets, the portaloos, you'd be all right.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like, and like I see that you've done some work in diversity and inclusion as well, have you? I think some background on it. Tell us a bit about that, Maria.
So I used to be a non-executive director for the Construction Industry Council, and I chaired their Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Committee for I think it was about 3 years, something like that. So that was really good, and that was bringing lots of different organisations together and working towards those common goals. And I've also delivered and written some training courses for the supply chain sustainability school as well. So fairness, inclusion, and respect programs. And if anybody's watching and listening to this, I would definitely recommend their programs because they're really, really good.
Yeah, they're well known, actually. Yeah, it's not the first time they come up. In fairness, they seem to be on top of the game in terms of a lot of different courses, not just the standard ones that you think comes to mind, but like stuff that is very innovative as well. They seem to be on top of their game with that.
Yeah.
So tell me a bit more about your career then, moving forward from Theobald, Gardner and Theobald. Where did you move next to?
Yeah, so I ended up back in the East Midlands. I think the house prices in London scared me too much, and I thought if I'm going to be a grown up and an adult, I don't think I can do it in London. And I think I'd felt like I'd done that, so uh, I went to the East Midlands, and I went to a company called Gleeds.
Okay.
So I was there for quite a lot of years. Um, but it was really tough times. Like it was, it was the recession that really kind of just opened my eyes to everything. Like round about 2008, 2009, I felt under a lot of pressure as a woman, and as that time I was a project manager, and I don't know if it was my own pressure or a combination of my own pressure and external pressures or whatever, but I really felt like I had to up my levels of testosterone to sort of lead teams and meetings and things like that, and also I didn't like how the recession was just bringing out all of these classic boom and bust behaviors. There was a lot of fear, there was a lot of obviously we need to get the cost down, and people end up suffering under those circumstances, and it just really opened my eyes, and I just thought as an industry we've got to get better at doing business.
Yeah.
And that was really the light bulb moment. So I had coaching myself at that time because I was struggling a bit, and I just discovering my core values, my own like personal values, was a real game changer for me. So I discovered that my number one core value is fairness. And so all of those times when I'd felt like I was being treated unfairly, or if I saw people around me being treated unfairly, um, and it really pushed my buttons,
Yeah.
that made perfect sense. I was like, this is going against what I believe in. And so then I made the decision to independently train as a coach, and I absolutely loved it. Like, I was fascinated by, what makes people thrive in the workplace, what do they need, the psychology, um, how do you get the best out of people, and the whole thing about discovering what your limiting beliefs might be, how you can change your mindset. Like, I just absolutely loved it. And then sort of, made the decision after a while that I wanted to become a coach. And then I started Construction Coach just over 10 years ago.
Brilliant. And you've done well to get the name, actually. I think it's constructioncoach.co.uk, is it?
It is, yeah.
How on earth you got that is beyond me. That is like social media gold dust, isn't it?
It was purely by fluke. It wasn't by, like, I just thought, I think my first business name was just something really fairy, like new wave coaching or something like that. And then I think part of me was I wasn't sure at the beginning whether I wanted to still be in the construction industry.
Okay.
Like, I knew I wanted to be a coach, but I didn't know if I wanted it to be in the construction industry.
Yeah.
But then I sort of made that decision. Yeah, I love the industry. I love, like, building stuff, that feeling, we do great things. I want to still be in this industry. And so, yeah, my business started as a blog initially. So, probably 11, 12 years ago. And yeah, I got constructioncoach.co.uk, and I'm really pleased that I did.
Yeah. So you basically, are you targeting the small to medium enterprise construction owner, independent construction owner, or independent tradesperson?
Yeah, and that's, my business really evolved over the years. But the name brought people to me as well. So I was finding that, a lot of small business owners were getting in contact with me. I'm so lucky that I've never had to do any search engine optimization. Like, if you Google coaching construction, I do come up with page one. Um, and they were finding me. And so then I just felt like more and more smaller businesses were finding me. And I felt like that was a good fit for me, because I felt like, as somebody who's got experience as a QS and a project manager,
Yeah.
I could be a bit more directive as well. So obviously I'm being a coach, I'm getting them to think about the big picture, their mindset and all of that. But I can also be a little bit directive as well. Like, say if I thought they were being at risk, and and I think that sort of combination of coaching and practical experience has been really beneficial and appealing for small businesses as well.
Hi guys, as you're enjoying this podcast, I just wanted to take a few seconds to let you know about my company, Coyle Group. We're not just another safety recruitment agency. We're your partners in building a safer future. With over 25 years of experience and more than 1 million hours of safety work completed, our mission is clear. Provide top-tier health and safety contractors tailored to the unique needs of your project. We also carry out on-site construction audits. From wind energy to power stations, utilities and engineering projects, our global reach and specialised expertise ensures your operations are not just compliant, but exemplary. For more information on how ensuring safety and sustainability of your products using our team of HSE contractors, visit coyle-group.com or click on the show notes or video description now. I've also put a booking link into the description for you to click and have a one-to-one conversation with me. Now, back to the podcast. Enjoy and see you soon.
No, talk to me about that, because I'm interested in the process. Everybody has their own sort of take on what that process should be. Like, is that you doing a gap analysis of the company initially and then understanding, okay, I've done the gap analysis and there's a lot of stuff here that needs to be dragged out and cleaned up, if you like? Or do you look at the company and go, I can't help that person?
No, I mean, I don't think I've ever. The only time I can't help somebody is if they don't, if they don't do the work.
Okay.
You know, I can highlight things to people, I can set them actions and all of that, but if they don't make the time to actually do stuff that's going to change stuff, then you kind of, you know, you kind of struggling, and some people are just, I think they're a bit scared of. And also when I'm working with somebody, I'm working with the whole person. So I know like some more generic business coaches are all very business focused, but I'm like, it's about getting into their headspace. It's understanding what's going on. It's understanding what's impacting on their work. You know, there might be stuff that's going on outside of the work family perspective that needs to be taken into consideration, because, you know, if you've got, you know, the family stuff happening that's really sort of impacting on your ability to be able to do anything or process stuff or be focused, then, you know, you've got to do something about that as well. And I think when I'm working with people, it's more, some people have said it can be more like therapy. So it's a bit different.
No, but I'm glad you said that, because I was asked to do a bit of coaching recently, and something that I didn't think about. But from my mindset, without going into sort of any formal academic or any sort of background experience, I was more interested to know about the lifestyle of the person and what ticks for that person. And we end up getting to the stage where that person wanted to work, and we agreed 3 days a week. And you know, with families and mortgages and loans and everything else, then the discussion became about, okay, what's going on in terms of the risk to try to get to that 3 days, and maybe it should be 5 days for a period of time, and eventually getting to a stage where it's 4 days and 3 days and maybe 2 days and stuff like that. And you know, we were 2 or 3 days over a couple of weeks into the conversation, and we hadn't really got into the business itself, the business mechanics itself. You know, it was very much, and when I stood back and I went, like, it was very powerful that the conversation was a strong quality conversation, because we were actually getting to the bolts of what actually makes the person happy.
Yes, yeah, yeah, exactly. And that is the kind of conversation that I have. It's like I get them to think about the bigger picture first of all. You know, where do they see themselves in the next few years? You know, what is their vision for their life? Because I guess, you know, you need to be able to get stuff out of your business that you need. You know, like all the effort that people put into to
Yeah,
being in business, the hardship, the tough times, it's got to be worth it. But I think if you can find like that sort of North Star, I guess, you know, the thing to focus on, that, right, this is why I'm doing it.
yeah,
And it could be lots of different things. It could be, well, do you know, like, I really want to do my own property development in future. I want to be able to work less. I want to take some time out. I want to travel. You know, there's all sorts of things that you might want to do. And it's just really getting to the nuts and bolts of why you're doing it. And then it's like, well, what do you need to get out of it to be able to do that? And how can you expand your thinking as well? So that's a sort of initial journey that I take people on, to just almost like find that or reconnect with that purpose. And also I get them to think about, well, why did they start doing it in the first place? You know, I sort of take them on a bit of a trip down memory lane right from the very beginning of when they started their career. And that might not have been in construction, that might have been in something else. But you can always pick out the key like points, the key things that they really enjoyed.
yeah,
And you can see how the patterns start to, you know, to come together. And it's also getting them to reconnect with what they really like
yeah,
and what they're good at,
yeah.
so that they know what to ditch as well.
Well, like, you know, there is the great saying as well, start with the end in mind. And that's exactly where you and fair play to you for that approach.
Yeah.
The other mantra that I hear is always have a company that's being built to sell. If you were to sell this company tomorrow, is it ready to sell? Not that you might ever want to sell it. It does focus your mind when you have to think about, well, what if you did have to sell it? What is in it that is tangible, and that,
Yeah.
and then other things that I've found in the past is people were holding on to things that they hated doing, but they felt that, well, if I don't do it, nobody else is going to do it, and I'm the only one that knows how to do it.
Yeah.
And then next thing, they're getting to resent the business because they're getting involved with stuff that they don't want to do.
Yeah, and that's true. And I think that is a really good point in that about selling the company in the future. And to do that, you've got to make sure you've got the right systems and processes in place. But you're never going to get to that stage if you don't delegate.
Yeah.
So, but I think some people just don't know, they don't have the confidence to do that. They don't know how to. People come from all sorts of different backgrounds, don't they? Like if they have started on the tools, they might not have done any like leadership and management stuff. They might not know, like, understand how to get the right performance out of people. There's all sorts of things that you need to look into and familiarize yourself with when you are a business owner, and then it is about, well, who do you need to help you to delegate, and what can you do with that?
So talk to me about the race to the bottom, and talk to me about cost and where we're going in the construction industry in regards to undercutting people and taking on jobs that are, just simply never going to work in terms of the maths. And talk to me about the conversations that you're having with your mentees, if you like, or in general within the industry. What's your sense?
I think a couple of things. So through coaching people for the last 10 years, I've probably worked with over 300 businesses, mostly SMEs and micro businesses, and I've seen common themes in the industry. But the whole thing about the race to the bottom, I feel like I was part of that myself when I was a quantity surveyor, because that's the culture. It is about getting the costs down. It is about sort of shaving money off. And I was part of that. And I think that's why, like, I wanted to get out of it, you know. But it's only now that I've really started working with these businesses, and as a business owner myself, what I will say is there's a heck of a lot of quantity surveyors in this, well, country world who do not know what it is like to run a business.
Yeah, true.
They've got no comprehension. Like, they've left college, they've left school, they've left uni, they've gone to an organisation. They've got no comprehension. So when they're asking for somebody to shave off a percentage of whatever it is to be able to win a job, they've got no idea what impact that's going to have on that business and how that is going to impact their profit margins for the year, the ability to be able to invest in new technology, or to be able to take on an additional trainee or an apprentice. Like, come on, construction industry, like, sort it out. Think about what you're asking and think about the impact that it's having, because that is part of, solving all the issues that we've got in the industry. People need to have good, profitable, strong companies to be able to invest, and to grow and take people on and do diversity training and all sorts of things like that.
But it's one of the highest risk, boom and bust industries that is out there at the moment in terms of construction. The terms of the amount of companies that are going into administration and liquidation on a daily basis is through the roof, and it's
Yeah.
not getting solved, Maria.
No.
Where's the fair price charter? Where's the fair price discussion? I don't see it.
I know, exactly. But I do think that there's a lot that businesses can do to help themselves to maximize their profit margins as well. Like, I do think that clients have definitely got the major part to play in the sort of questions that they're asking and what they're asking of their the people that they're doing. And I'm talking about, clients sort of who are asking of their supply chain. I'm talking about domestic clients. I work a lot in the domestic market. A lot of the builders that I'm working on are doing extensions, remodels, like small developments.
Yeah.
And, they're all part of the race to the bottom. You've got clients sort of wanting to constantly get stuff cheaper. But I do think that businesses, there's a lot they can do themselves to maximize their profit margins from a starting point of view. And that is about, first of all, getting clear on their brand, like their purpose, who they are as a business, what are their core values, like how could a client start to make an emotional connection with that business? Because I just think there's so many bland businesses out there
Yeah.
that aren't getting those key messages across, that why we're different. We're not part of the race to the bottom. Yeah, we're not the cheapest, but we're not the cheapest because of X, Y, and Z. Like you were talking about digital marketing before. A lot of these businesses need to invest in digital marketing. They need to be investing in content creation. But also, I think there's ways that they can save money through adopting new technology as well. Thinking about where they're wasting time. How are they having to do work all over again because they haven't got the right quality? I call them profit stealers. There's all sorts of different profit stealers that businesses have, and they're very common. So I do a lot of like group coaching. So for example, I'm doing quite a lot with the Federation of Master Builders at the moment. I take them on a journey, and part of that journey is to help them identify their profit stealers, because then if they can do something about that, it gives them more profitability to be able to make better decisions and like stand their ground more as well.
And also build a proper system procedure, that is specific to your company, that is enshrined in terms of how you do business, as opposed to going into a hardware with a credit card and just throwing it across the counter and saying, yeah, I don't care, I need it because I have to finish this job today. And it's totally reactive. This no foresight of having hedged sort of materials that, okay, we're going to need X amount of materials over the next 6 months in order to deliver the capacity of the work that we have to deliver. They're not thinking that way.
No, and that is one of the common themes. Like they're not planning enough. They're not sort of thinking about, well, what are the key milestones that I'm going to hit? How do I make sure I've got everything there in time? And that there's definitely a lot of reaction. But again, I think it is a bit of a chicken and egg situation though, because it's like you need the money to be able to invest in delegation, but sometimes you just have to take that risk as well.
Yeah, but then it's the kind of if I'm making 60 grand, for example, in terms of net profit, am I going to bring in somebody for 45 grand that can help me, work on the QS side of things, or work on the purchasing and procurement side of things, or maybe a quality person? Or do I pocket that 60, 70 grand net into my pocket, and, yippee, I can go on a nice holiday and I can give, the family whatever they need. Like that is, I know it's like that is the conversations that they're having in their own head. Like,
Yeah,
I'm taking that 70 grand. I'm not going to reinvest that.
yeah, that's true. But if they took the time to actually do the work on their business and identify what the patterns are, so they'll have patterns that are happening like on every project. So they'll have stuff that doesn't work, doesn't go how they need it to be. They'll be losing profit, or some of them don't even know where they're losing profit either. So they haven't got those like financial trackers in place to be able to think, well, what job's profitable and which one isn't, and why isn't it profitable? Like if you do that work on your business, you'll then be able to identify where the risks are, and then you can sort of take a strategic view about where you're going to spend your money. Like it might be a short-term hit, but if you know what the return on investment's going to be, and like how much profit you're going to be able to claw back, then that's going to like give you the incentive to do it, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just as you were talking there, I was thinking to myself again. People don't even think about the fact that they need to have like a board. Like they think, oh, well, I'm too small to have a board of directors or to have this so-called, outside executive team. But like, you can put fancy words on it all you want, but like it could be your partner, it could be your, a relation of yours, it could be your mentor, your coach,
Yeah.
your accountant, you could be your financial advisor, it could be whoever, but to hold you accountable for making decisions or not making decisions in terms of winning contracts or taking on contracts. And then we had a really interesting conversation on the podcast with a family run business in the States. I think it was Wisconsin. And something that he said resonated with me. It was like, yeah, well, we're working on reducing the amount of quotes that we have to do in the future. And I said, well, what do you mean by that? He says, well, we figured out that we were doing loads of quotes and we weren't winning the work. So we're now looking at a model of triaging people coming into the business to ask us to quote for work. And if we ask them a certain amount of questions, or we put it to them that we want exclusivity, well, then that conversation just goes away and we don't have to then invest any more time and effort into that. And I think that came from, sort of a general peer-to-peer group getting together going, we're wasting money and time and energy doing all these quotes. But like the person that was obviously running the company was so ingrained in the business and not on the business, didn't think of stuff like that. So, people that have headspace, I see, or have mind space, or have the time to think about, because they're not fully invested. Like you wouldn't be fully invested in the business on a day-to-day basis. You have that perspective where you can step back and go, well, have you thought about this and have you thought about that? And it's so empowering to be able to have some sort of a formal, get together every month or every quarter or whatever's relevant. But so long as it's within a formality, and they're just not, and there's a bias in people's heads. I see it in the small to medium enterprise construction owners. There's a bias in their head. Well, I don't need a board. I'm only small. I'm only like 4 men or 5 men and a couple of guys in the office or whatever else. And it's kind of like, no, that's not happening.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a really good point. And what you're saying about I think community as well is like really important. Like, how we're really going to get away from the race to the bottom is for people to start doing things differently, to get out of the silos. And if you've got a group of people doing things differently and other people see that, then they'll start to do it. Like, I'm at one of the WhatsApp group chats I've got. Somebody put a post on there yesterday talking about, a client who was, they were trying to sort of, I think, there was £150,000 difference between his price and somebody else's. And just the whole concept of this is just, it's absolutely ridiculous. You've got people who are still like trying to buy the work, but we also as an industry need to educate homeowners
Yeah.
into understanding what you should be looking at in a reputable builder and the signs that they should be giving you.
Yeah.
And
I see. Look again. Look, you hit a great topic there, which is community. And again, going back to a previous podcast, that particular company said that we don't operate outside a certain geographical region at all. No matter how much money you pay us, we won't go to outside of that particular radius of work. And really what he was saying was the attraction to the workers that he was working for him was so great because there wasn't that much work in that general area anyway. And so people were really happy to like spend 40 minutes in the car to get to work and 40 minutes home. And the sense of community within the company was increased because the culture within the company was there was so many people that were local and they all go to the local football matches and school and kids hang around with each other and everything else. Whereas you see some small to medium enterprise companies and because of their client, they end up being stretched into all different parts of the country, into the regions where that client operates. And so you have these guys staying in, I don't know, the Holiday Inn or the Premier Inn, and you see them, you see all the vans lined up at night, and you go, oh my God, like you're losing time with your family, you're losing your own time in terms of your own personal development. You're spending it in a hotel and stuff like that. And I thought it was very empowering that the CEO of this company was like, no, it's one of our values that we operate within the community, within our local community. And therefore, the local community then started to understand, well, this guy is the best builder in the location. And yeah, he might be cost a bit more, but the money's going back into the community, and it's going back into the shops, and it's going back into somebody getting a roll at lunchtime or whatever it is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. And I think, it is important for builders to set boundaries and think, well, what am I prepared to do and what am I not prepared to do? But also, I think it comes back to knowing your numbers, like being able to understand where your profits are coming from, being able to make informed decisions about your business based on the quality of information that you've got and the data you've got and the systems and processes you've got in place. Like, you need to be doing that so that you can make the best possible decisions and you feel that you're in control of what you do rather than feeling that you're out of control, basically.
Yeah. A couple of curve balls, because we like to throw curve balls here, if you don't mind, Maria. Knowing what you know now, what would you do different?
I would get better at marketing. Like,
Really?
oh yeah, like
Says the
I've
woman
been.
that has the best SEO.
I know, but if I didn't have that, like I'd probably be on page 12.
You should be teaching marketing with that after getting that website.
I know, but like I say, it wasn't intentional. But I'm very, very happy that I've got it. But I've been consistently inconsistent with marketing like over the years.
But I think everybody's the same, isn't it? We make a run at it, and then we kind of go, oh my God, I'm too far in here, and it's distracting me from the main business, and do we really need to do this? But in terms of a favorite book or favorite movie?
Oh gosh. Um okay, so two opposing things. My favorite movie is Breakfast at Tiffany's. I love Audrey Hepburn.
Very good.
She's stunning. And she was a very good person as well. She was a philanthropist and did a lot of work for the United Nations and Save the Children and stuff as well. But I also love Harry Potter. Like I could watch Harry Potter movies over and over again. Same with Star Wars, Lord of the Rings. Like love those type of movies.
Brilliant. Favorite holiday destination?
Um, I'm really loving Greece at the moment. I like that sort of chilled vibe. So we're currently working our way around different Greek islands right now, looking at the next one.
Brilliant. So you've gone back a few times.
Yeah, I've gone to different islands. So just really love the vibe in Greece.
Brilliant. Tell me something about you that nobody would probably pinpoint and say, "Well, I didn't know that about Maria."
I used to be able to do Irish dancing.
Come on. Speaking to an Irishman here. I suppose Coulter. Yeah, I actually didn't make the connection. Sorry.
Well, that was my husband's name. His his dad's family's from Northern Ireland. But yeah, I used to go to Irish dancing lessons and loved it.
Loved it. Yeah. Did you? Was there a local Irish? Yeah.
Yeah, there was a local Irish dancing in the community centre, and I used to go in for feshes. So if anybody doesn't know what a fesh is, then look it up.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was.
All the uniform, the whole lot, like kitted out completely.
Oh yeah.
It's a whole industry, isn't it?
Oh, it's incredible. Like, yeah, especially if you ever see like the sort of the world championships on YouTube and stuff like that. Like, it's just next level, isn't it?
Oh, it's unbelievable. It's I like the amount of hours that goes into that from a personal perspective. Like, wow. People want to get in touch with you. How do they do that? Like, I really enjoyed the conversation today, actually, to be honest with you. And I know we could have spent so much more time as well. I think it'd be good to get you back on again in the future because you're doing a lot of great work in the community in the construction industry. So I want to say, first of all, well done and congrats on that and keep it going. We need more people like yourself to step up and help out. And, you've done that, and I think it's a credit to you. So if people do want to connect with you, what is the best way to do that?
Yeah, so they can email me, maria@constructioncoach.co.uk. I'm on LinkedIn. You can put information in the show notes, and also I'm building community at the moment to help small builders specifically around solving tech. So I got some funding from the Construction Industry Training Board, from the Impact Fund. So there's a well, by the time this goes out, there'll be a program launching in April, which is fully funded to support small builders around getting the right tech for their business. But also, we're going to be launching it online to reach thousands in September. So, it would be great to get people to come to my website, sign up for my newsletter, and I'll keep everybody posted and, send out good content for them.
Fair play to you, Maria. Listen, absolute pleasure having you on I'm The Gaffer, and we wish you every success, and thank you so much. We'll put the stuff in the show notes so that people can contact you. Thank you so much, and we'll see you again in the future, I'm sure.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Gavin. It's been brilliant. Thank you.
Thanks, Maria.
Hello, gaffers. Hope you're enjoying the podcast. We love every one of the guests that we have, but in order to bring on more great guests, we'd love to build the channel with you. So hit the subscribe, hit the like button, and let's create a really great community where we bring in better and better guests for you to deliver great content and great pieces of information that you can take back into your business.